Ever since Lewis Hamilton has stepped foot in two of Ferrari's previous year's Formula One cars in this ground effect era, there's been quite a few reports stating that he's felt far more at home and comfortable within the SF23 and SF24 than he ever did at any point in the previous 3 seasons with his former team Mercedes in this ground effect era. Now, these reports, of course, leave a lot of questions with regarding the legitimacy of them. And I suppose the biggest question here is, well, how could Hamilton already know that after the very small amount of testing that he's essentially had with Ferrari in January? Now, what I believe here is this goes for every Formula One driver, but especially for someone of Lewis Hamilton's caliber. They will essentially, from the moment they get into a car and start to actually push it, they will be able to feel all the nuances and the differences between, say, the SF23, the SF24, and what he would have remembered with the W13, 14, and 15. So while we may think Hamilton's not had a huge amount of running with Ferrari and those two cars, that actually really isn't true when you consider the fact he's had 2 days with the SF24 in the Pirelli tyre test, and I believe essentially within that space of time, Hamilton would have definitely found that some things would have been more to his liking, as what this video is all about, and other things less to his liking, like the report of him asking for changes made to the pedals between his shakedown test in Fiorano and turning up in Barcelona. And these are part and parcel of Formula One. But what is really interesting to me is this report stating he feels a lot more comfortable with the rear axles on the Ferrari car and just the generalized feeling and handling that they have over those of his predecessors during the ground effect era with his former team Mercedes. And of course that would be the W13, 14 and 15. And it was a continuous issue that he had across all three Mercedes cars in the ground effect era, essentially never really getting on top of it with regards to the issues he was having. The team never did anything about it really to a substantial point of it not being an issue. And it was particularly something that he had struggles with at the beginning of 2024. And I can remember one particular race in Saudi Arabia from which it was in sector 1 during the race. He was chasing Lando Norris, and Norris within that first sector literally pulled maybe a second or 2 seconds out of Hamilton instantaneously, and you could just see the visible gap growing and growing as each corner passed. So yeah, something that was never done and never helped Hamilton, and I think it's one of the Achilles heels he's had in this ground effect era. Now, whether these initial feelings and feedback is given to Ferrari is going to remain true with the SF25. Only time will tell as we get into pre-season testing and the season as a whole, and we get the interviews with Hamilton and just the reports coming out in the social media and press. So that is something to for sure be on the lookout for as and when that happens. And so I think these are fantastic signs for Hamilton and the season ahead if he can already feel quite a difference within the car of the handling of the rear end. And as we all know, Hamilton is someone that loves to have a very pointy Formula One car at the front, and he can basically handle a very loose rear end and get to grips with it. But something was a disconnect, if you want to put it like that, during his time at Mercedes over these last 3 years, and that was not the case. And it never was a moment throughout any of these previous 3 seasons where he felt comfortable. So to literally have had only, what was it, maybe 150 laps across the two Ferrari cars in the ground effect era already, and to feel a noticeable difference, to have obviously reported it to team members, and then for that news to have trickled down the pipeline out into the press and social media, I think is a great sign of things to come. And I say that because we all know the SF23 and its time, and when it was of course the main Ferrari car, was very much a difficult car to drive. You just have to ask both drivers that drove that car in the 2023 season. So all the signs are pointing in the right direction with regards to Hamilton's beginnings with Ferrari and just the general feel. It seems to me like there isn't a huge amount of things that need to be changed in terms of handling and such. And it's more about just getting comfortable in the car, making sure the pedals, as I mentioned, are very much to his liking, and just, making sure the seat, because I'm sure even though he's had one seat made to measure for himself in terms of having it in the previous two iterations of the Ferrari cars, that is something they will continue to focus and hone in on when it comes to the SF25. And as we all know, we are literally less than a week away from the unveiling of the SF25 on the 18th evening, I believe, after the Formula One launch event is happening here in London with the O2. And then, of course, the shakedown in Fiorano the day after, which I will be covering on the channel. So if you're new and have watched the video up to this point, I will be in Fiorano in Maranello filming the unveiling of the new car with both Hamilton and Leclerc. So be on the lookout for videos on the channel on the 19th with regards to that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap the video up here. It's a little bit shorter, but I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, of course, do leave a like on the video. And if you're new, hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on for when I upload content next week, because it's going to be a very, very busy Tuesday and Wednesday here on the channel with the unveiling of Ferrari's 2025 Challenger, the SF25. Right guys, I will catch you all later on in the week, and if not, I will definitely see you next Tuesday and Wednesday with more Formula One and in particular Ferrari content. Catch you all then.